Good evening, welcome. It's Monday night, so it's the ILFL Soccer Night sponsored by Hawk and Eagle. A pleasure to be here with you guys. Coming up in the second section of the show, we're going to look at the mad and crazy world of the First Division and the major developments that have happened there over the weekend. But as always, we start with the Premier Division. Only one or two fixtures to fulfill now before that becomes a complete package. We go to Beaumont, who are playing Sire, and Beaumont looking to see if they can get themselves out of the bottom three and at least finish the season with some credibility before they look to their cup commitments. They're up against Sire, who despite their pretty football and pretty football kit, still are languishing at the bottom of the division. Here we have the highlights of the game that happened yesterday. It's Beaumont versus Sire. disappointing end to what has been a disappointing season for Sire, but on the contrary for Beaumont, it gives them some hope going into their cup final game that's coming up for them in a couple of weeks' time. 3-1 Beaumont ran out the winners. Let's take a look at the other result in the Premier Division yesterday, and we can see that the only other game that took place in the Premier Division was between Stepney and Ireland, and that ended up as a 1-1 draw. Before I come to the panel, let's take a look at the final tables now and see how the Premier Division finished up this season. Everybody played their full 16 games. London Tigers, as we all know, champions at the top. Bromley now end up as runners-up due to Stepney's failure to take all 3 points against Ireland. Sire were rooted at the bottom anyway, along with Cannon just above them, and Beaumont, we'll call it a respectable 7th for them, with teams only a point or two above them. And having said that, I'll now turn to you, Rash. Is it a case that the season's not completely over for you, but is it a case of you can exhale now, it's done, let's get it out of the way and look forward?
What is pleasing with Beaumont is I think they've peaked at the right time. If you look at the results in the last 5-6 weeks, they've started playing football. A lot of the key players are starting to play good football around 4. So it's for me, it's looking good for the final, obviously in the end of April. And obviously the game, we showed we were always dominating, always in control. Sire, I think we've discussed during the whole season, they're a good outfit, they've got a good number of players, etc. But the only thing they lack is few key quality players. I think they lack that in the team. Once they got 1 or 2 quality players, I think they'll be better next season, hopefully.
I think you're right. I mean, I think at the beginning of the season, I was saying about Sire, I remember looking at them last season, in the last Summer League, and seeing that they played some really good football, played some really good stuff, but the Premier Division was just a step too far for them, Cameras.
Yeah, I think they found it a bit too difficult this year, David. They're still in the Premiership for next season. What they need to do is beef up and come prepared. Obviously, the experience they've gained this year is priceless. So if they can learn from that, they will do well. And I think if you had to award somebody for being the most organised team, it would be them.
It's them, yeah.
They're there on time, warming up, getting ready, having the right number of subs.
Absolutely.
A bit too many at times. But see, these are all tick boxes that they have. All they need to do is add 2 or 3 quality players, add that competitive edge that everyone needs in the Premiership, and they'll be that right there in the mix.
Maybe so. Sire, maybe with the kit that you have, change your name to Sire Tigers. That might work for you. We talk about Stepney dropping points.
That's an unbelievable result, to be honest. We know before the game, we're playing for second place would ensure your status in Champions League for next season. And also to come to runners up, at least you get runners up trophy, etc. To draw Ireland, again, they're one of those bogey teams. Sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. But on the day, you put your money on Stepney. For them to get a draw was very, very shock results. I think everyone was shocked by the result. Even I was shocked when I heard that. I was like, are you sure that's a draw? Because I don't know what Ireland did on the day to get a draw against Stepney. It's a massive result and a very disappointing end of the season for Stepney, coming third, not qualifying for the Champions League next season.
But still the game to look forward to.
Well, that's the only thing now. Obviously, they're going to have to give extra on the final to beat the Black Meteors in the Champions League final. But to finish the season in the way they did is very, very disappointing.
So now the Premier Division, we've seen it's 16 games that have been played to all the teams that took part in the Premier Division this season. Very well done to you. You can see there are those that did very well. Tigers taking top spot, which is what they set out to do. Bromley, well done to you for coming up, maybe as a dark horse, a little bit silent and without anybody noticing, and taking second place. So their season ended up being quite a productive season for Bromley, Cameras, then, because we very rarely spoke about them as the season progressed.
Yeah, I mean, they've always been towards the bottom half of the table most of the season, and with a lot of games being postponed this year, there wasn't much Premiership football, to be honest. And obviously, with one team dropping out, the game's reduced by itself automatically. But, you know, Bromley, they have a knack of coming second. They've done that a few times over the years. And they're another team, very organised, very well established, and they get on with their business. They get on with the job at hand.
Last season they were in a position that Beaumont were in where they were struggling, weren't they?
I think Bromley would be disappointed. I think they were challenged for the title, and to concede the title 3-4 weeks before the end of the season would be very disappointing. They are a massive club. They're one of the big clubs in East London at the modern time. And to come second and not to challenge for the league itself, and I think would be very disappointing.
But like I said, I mean, they've got to be happy with this. I mean, last season, I remember last season, they were struggling and were almost one of the teams that were going to be relegated.
I think what it is, because the expectation is high, because it's a massive organisation, a massive club, and the expectation is very, 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 very high. And I think that, on that sense, they'll be very disappointed. Not to be in the cup, knocked out in quarter-finals, coming second due to other results. And there were some few results they lost badly. I know they lost badly to Brick Lane, to Beaumont. Those, I don't think you foresaw the results. I think there are a few key matches they lost badly, and I think they're reflecting on their title hopes itself. You
mentioned Brick Lane there. Surprise package finishing fourth?
They are one of the, we said that right at the beginning of the season, one of the dark horses. On the day, they play good football, a lot of youngsters, they have local players, but it's just a matter of consistency and showing the passion week in, week out. Some weeks they all give 100%, the other weeks they're not all there, they're giving a 70%, 80%. I think that's the reason why they couldn't push up the league itself. But one of the teams, hopefully next season, if they can get the consistency going, I think they'll be, one of the top teams.
Brick Lane, it's a name that's growing its status as a very cultural and fashionable place to be. In terms of the Premier Division, can they maintain some kind of a status in the Premier?
I think they've proved this season, David, that they can mix with the big boys. They've done well. They've done better than well, finishing fourth. And I think they can only take encouragement and motivation from that for next season. And obviously, just like Science, they can add a bit more strength to the team. Then, why shouldn't they challenge the title as well? It's there.
I think one of the unique things about Brick Lane is a very young manager. Abul Hasna, who manages teams, is a very young guy. So for him to manage a Premiership side, I think it's a credit to him for coming fourth and the squad he has, and for a young age to manage a big club in a big Premiership is a credit to the guy.
I'm looking forward to all of you teams turning up next season and making the Premier Division better and stronger than it was this season, especially with a couple of teams coming into the division that we're going to talk about in the next section of the show when we look at the crazy mad world of the First Division. Results, a few surprises, developments and conclusions for us to talk about in the next section of the show. So stay with us, we'll be back after this short break.
You are watching ILFL Soccer Nights.
Sponsored by Hawk and Eagle.